here's another what would Jess do answer. So the question is, if you know that you're going to be eating a massive meal because it's all food that you love and don't get very often, how would you balance it? Well, some things that I would keep in mind is that it's probably hard to know if the meal itself is going to be balanced. I'm just kind of assuming, but typically when it's foods that we don't normally get, it tends to be a lot of like carb-rich foods, right? Which is totally fine, especially if it's something that you're not consuming on a daily basis. But that means that the meal itself may not be super balanced, which doesn't mean that you need to necessarily add something in. Of course, if you can add something to this meal, so say it's a family gathering or a potluck or something along those lines where you could bring a salad or a dish that you know you really enjoy that is healthier and can kind of offset some of the other foods, then by all means do that. But if you're at a restaurant, that's obviously not going to be an option. But some other things to keep in mind is how do you bring in those garbage versus garbage men? So if you're eating and you're eating a lot, you know, even if it's really healthy foods, that could potentially serve as more of like the garbage for your body, right? It's just a lot to process, especially if it's foods that are not what you would necessarily classify as the healthiest, then that's going to be a little bit more of that garbage and adding to the landfill. So ways that we can bring in the garbage men is maybe getting some activity in after the meal especially would be great, or even in between courses if that's an option. So if it's like a gathering where you could be standing up and moving around and moving your body, or excusing yourself and going to the bathroom and maybe taking a longer route. You know, these are just little things that go through my mind. And then especially if it's at a restaurant, maybe you could walk in the parking lot afterwards or even beforehand if there's a wait. So just getting that movement in, and if you can get movement in earlier in the day or later in the day, just things to kind of support that digestion. So it could be more of like a gentle movement. I personally would probably take a digestive enzyme before the meal. I like to utilize the Digestzyme, which I can link below, and that has some components in it that can help to also like reduce the inflammatory response from gluten and dairy, but also it just helps my body to break down food when I'm having foods that I'm not used to or when I'm having larger quantities. I would also recommend limiting fluid consumption with and around the meals. So, you know, ideally if you're opting for these foods, maybe you can limit the alcohol or avoid alcohol, but especially you want to limit fluid, even water, with and around mealtime. So trying not to drink more than 8 to 12 ounces while you're eating food, just so that you're not further, you know, decreasing your body's ability to digest and break down the food. And let me see if I wrote some other options down here. Oh, seeing if you can do kind of smaller portions. So still getting some of each of the food item that you're really interested in, but just having a smaller portion of each, and asking if there's an option for you to take some leftovers so that you don't feel inclined to like eat this massive portion because this is the one time of year that I get to eat it. Maybe you can save some of it and enjoy it the next day or throughout the week so that you're not feeling that like, gotta do it right now, and then leave yourself just feeling like blah. Another thing and last thing that I like to really practice, and this is something that I still practice and I'm getting better at, but really asking myself, how will this leave me feeling, right? So if I'm making this choice to eat all of this food, great, I might feel good for, you know, the couple minutes while I'm actually eating it and getting that flavor. But am I going to feel like crap for hours afterwards? And maybe, and sometimes that may be totally worth it and you know the consequences, but other times you might think twice about your food choices and just kind of having a smaller portion. So I hope that you find these tips helpful, and welcome to my brain and some thoughts that go through my mind. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.